Welcome to the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Together we explore the vast landscapes of life, delving into the rich soil of experiences, sowing the seeds of curiosity, and harvesting the profound wisdom that each episode unfolds. Welcome to another podcast of Harvesting Wisdom. I'm your host, Mike McMahon. And today I have Changbin Chen with me, a soil scientist, fair to say?
Plant science.
Okay, so at ASU, I think, right?
Yeah.
I want to thank you for being here today. And thanks to the audience for coming. It's another, one of my favorite interviews is always talking about to people who are scientists who really understand and for me, everything comes down to the soil and what's alive in the soil.
Mhm.
That's the basis of everything, right? So, for me, this is a special treat talking to you today, and thanks for being here. So, to get the audience kind of acquainted, give me your history. Tell me where you went to school, and what motivated you to do what you're doing right now.
Okay. So again, my name is Changbin Chen. So I was born and grew up in China, center of China. It's
Okay.
a deep mountain area. Like I mentioned earlier, so my as far as I know, all the generations of my ancestors, they are farmers. So
Okay.
and then I like to work with plants when I was a young age. And then once came to because I get my degree from the Chinese Academy of Science, and I also come to the U.S., did my postdoc at University of Pennsylvania and Pennsylvania State University.
Oh, good school.
Yeah, and then I moved to University of Minnesota in 2006, work Department of Horticulture, and first as the research professor, and then become a tenure track professor there for about 14 years, working in Minnesota before I moved to Arizona State.
And how long have you been here?
Since 2021.
Okay.
So
So different challenges everywhere. You were in Hong Kong in the mountain area, right? So that's different.
that's
And
different.
then Pennsylvania, strange as it is, Pennsylvania is a really strong ag
Mhm.
community, right?
Yeah.
The Italians doing mushrooms, you got all
Yeah.
kinds of
Yeah.
cool regenerative stuff going on in Pennsylvania. And then the school is very progressive and really good. But from Pennsylvania, which can be hot and cold, nothing, amazing. But then you went to Minnesota,
Yeah.
which is we've got a very short window for agriculture, right?
It's actually very
It's under snow quite a bit.
yes. So the short season, that's the short growing season. That's what we imagine. Yeah.
Okay, so in all of those places, you have pretty distinct seasons and crops that you can grow.
Yeah.
And soil conditions. So mountains, soil's usually thinner, more mineral and less organic. And then Pennsylvania and Minnesota have been farmed quite a bit for many, many years. So it's a matter of regenerating. So your research, what's the research really based on? Is it based on microbiology? Or is it more horticulture, more plants?
More plants and more horticulture.
Okay.
So I research into understanding how your breeding for what's kind of recombine, recombination, so how to make the two ideal traits and into one combined. And the main focus for my research is focusing on understanding and development of the short, for the crops, and then easy to grow in the short season locations. That means trying to look for the crop with like a short life circle. It can grow very quickly.
Some more extremes.
Yeah, some fast growing and short life circle, and then you can grow someplace even Alaska
Okay.
for very short season crop.
Right.
And then around those, but we will also look for the higher quality and good nutrient come from those plant vegetables. For this part, mainly focus on vegetable development like tomatoes.
Okay.
So because of the short thing, we have the plant are very short, but it's loaded with fruit.
Get out of vegetation mode as
Yeah.
fast as possible, get your fruit going,
Yeah.
and okay.
Yeah. So, and then we moved to Arizona, and we realized here its season is also short, even though it's long,
Yes,
it
they
can
are.
grow.
Yeah.
But for tomato, it's short. So spring up to like later May.
Till you get to the extreme heats,
Yeah.
right?
And then for the fall, we start like right now we start seeds and for the fall crop.
Yeah.
So it's also two growth seasons every year, but each season is short.
So and there's certain crops I've grown over the years, and one is grapes. And we've had a vineyard ongoing for a couple of vineyards for like 10 years that we deal with. And what's crazy is we have 12 months in Phoenix, never have snow, right? And everything's irrigated anyway.
Mhm.
So you would think that you could grow grapes. All you need is a 90-day window or so. But the problem is the grapes, they will come on when they come on. You can't bring them on a month or two early.
Yeah.
So, and the problem we always have is we start the grapes from last year, we prune them back, they bud, they grow out, and then they start putting on fruit. And before they can get through veraison, it turns 115 degrees and it shuts the plant's transpiration down, and it just shuts the plant down. So I never can quite finish a crop off.
Mhm.
And so we've been playing with soils, to try to come up with drought soils and different things like that. We've used foliar sprays to try to get more, more nutrient in. But reality is we can't seem to expedite that period or that process. One of the other plants that we've been playing with for years is hemp. And a lot of hemp most of the seed is pretty much coming out of either Europe or China, because in the U.S. and North America, hemp was not allowed to be grown, and so places that continuously grew it for 1,000 years have the seeds. So we've been bringing that on, but we're seeing the same thing. Certain latitudes make a difference. How much sunlight you're getting, the heat. All of these things are factors. And one of the guys that we work with is a professor at Purdue, or semi-retired, I guess, and he works with haploid induction. Is that right? So you're familiar with that?
Mhm.
So you've got that versus genetic engineering. What aspect are you involved? Because you're not trying to grow the plant like I am, changing soil conditions and things like that. You're trying to change some of the basic genetics to be able to handle these extreme. I can't remember the term for the extremities, but for the extreme.
Kind of what's called stress or stressors or environment factors there.
Yeah. So what aspect do you get involved with?
So that's why. So for me, I'm a kind of breeder. So one thing back to your experience on growing grapes, that problem. So you need to find the grape varieties adapt to the environment. Soil is important, but it's not everything.
Right. We've got the rootstock. We use a Paulson rootstock, which does well here in the desert. But getting the grape, I haven't found the grape variety that'll start earlier. All we need is a month.
So you need to find the right variety so that you can grow here. So just like what our experience, because when I grew a large field, like acres and all different crop in the field, we use a drain to imagine it to see which varieties fit this place. So my experience for some varieties, they're doing so well in Minnesota, like Iowa, but it's not going to do well here.
Right.
And we found some of this, they're doing very well here, but we have a hard time to fully
Finish them.
finishing and the north part.
Yeah, because our seasons are actually a lot shorter than people think, right?
Yeah. So that's what's kind of like down to the research we're doing. So short season is one of the what we are working on, and we also work on like how to use the water more efficient and select. We're doing trials for all different varieties in the same growing environment and the same soil and the same fertilizer, measure everything, and you can see the field just shows significant difference. Some of those are doing so well here, but others are very poorly.
You know, it's kind of interesting because we've worked with UC Davis and U of A and several universities, and I've never seen a PhD's paper come out with a simple summary. It always comes out, and I'm like, well, I get an entire text of all the, because there's so many variables and everything is measured and everything's precise that when I'm finished reading it, I'm like, what did I just see? I don't know. Is there proof in the pudding?
So
Does that happen very often? Or is that like the Eureka gold?
For the research, most research, there's a focused in-depth study.
Mm-hmm.
But for a real grower, you have to get money. So you have to be in the
You
field.
got to show them something.
Yeah,
right?
you have to be in the field in order to understand how this crop you grow responds to the environment.
Right.
So that's one thing we're looking at in kind of a promote the way for locally. So different local. So one of this variety you can perform so well here in Arizona, it may not do well in any other place.
Right.
So those are something we need looking for. Looking for the perfect for this place, and maybe some other place with a similar environment like Africa or some desert environment.
So here's the thing. The importance with that is, first of all, we've been as humans growing food for 10,000 years. So I think we've lost more knowledge than we ever gained, right? And we know that what you're talking about is plant diversity, right? So is there a particular plant or seed someplace that would do very well in this location or another location? And keeping kind of a database on that is important, right? And I know there's seed banks that do a lot of that work, but it seems like it's just still, there's no unifying, and that used to be the role of universities, but now we're seeing a lack of funding and coordination. What do you think about that? That whole in this environment, how do you see that?
So one thing I would look at is kind of we have a lot of kind of like a private seed, kind of like a propagator or very small collectors, and they collect a few, but they're good for their local growth.
Right.
So what we are looking at possibility to coordinate all different growers in different places. So when we select, we pick up, so for example, tomato we grow here, we pick up those varieties that and they developed somewhere similar to what we have here. And then we just do the trials in the field. Because most of the tomatoes may be doing so well in other places like Iowa, Missouri, or hell. But once you put here in Arizona, because temperature too high and the
latitude difference, temperature.
Yeah, so then the flower buds will be dropped and when the temperature kind of higher than 90 degree or even higher.
And it's not just that. There's so many variables, right? It's the organic matter in the soil. It's the nutrient matter. It's sun exposure. There's so many different variables. The pH, there's so many different things that it's hard to, and that's why most of the papers I read, they're never quite conclusive because, how did you isolate all those variables?
Yeah, for us, what we're looking at, many focus basically trying to understand the key factors. Like here in Arizona, we know soil is poor, and we know the long-term like farmland, the soil is getting worse because of the water evaporation, get the salty
Saltier and saltier as we
Yeah.
go, yeah.
in the soil. But another way we're looking at how the plant can survive and can grow in this environment. But main factor is how to deal with high temperature, how to deal with the very high UV radiation. So that's it's actually
It's a
main
big
factor
thing.
to cure the plant because
Well, it changes the texture of the plant and everything else too, right?
Yeah.
The
So-
skin and everything.
that's a sort of better situation because the most time they just because they were caused the cell, the DNA in the cell kind of break down the cycle. Then the plant had some plants a variety can develop this tolerance for that,
Right.
but others are not. And
Yeah, we've seen that with like the hemp, right? We thought and we blew the hemp up. It turned 120, I think, at one point, and literally our entire hemp field looked bleach white. As it turns out, though, it had already been large enough. We used all the board footage, and we came up with our best material ever because of what of the sun actually bleaching it. So it was like, okay, that's good. And then the field completely grew back the next season, even thicker than it had before. So, and then the following season, it adapted. It handled the heat, and that happened over one season. Which, if you look at evolution, right, and you look at how plants evolve with animals and microbes, a lot of times it's 1,000 years of adaptation. But some of these things are happening pretty quickly, right?
yeah, so some of those because plant cannot move, so it had a mechanism.
No migration.
It's just with a signal in trigger, it just responds.
Right.
So those are it's not all because some of the development when you get this variety, it can grow there, but it's not always able to have like a response correctly.
So are you in a lab doing the genetic stuff like the haploid? Like we were using our professor, seemed a professor from Purdue, and he believes that he's able to turn off the gene that's related to the latitude. So we think that we can start growing some seeds here that aren't gonna turn as quickly because he can control that clock a little bit.
Yeah.
Are you doing any of that?
So we're on the other direction. So because most of the crop, when you're looking at hyperinduction, what we call most time we call double hybridization, basically haploid but double. So which means there's two set of the genome in this variety will be identical because they're just a simple doubled.
Uh-huh.
So that's actually it's easier to turn off a gene because it's just same spot you can shut above.
Right.
But for the tolerance for stress environment like what we are having, we're looking for more heterozygosity that way. Means there's two genome. It's most time what we call easy to understand is hybrid vigor because the hybrid had two set of genome. They have a higher grade of those difference. And then when, especially in an environment like here, Arizona, we grow in very high UV, the UV damages the DNA, but because the kind of hybrid that's part, so it's more common, easier to have them just repair the response to wear. So that's what we're looking at for the like what you mentioned, double haploid, we look at short season. When the stress comes, we done. We have harvest already.
Right, right.
And for those in the environment, can try to have those tolerant resilience environment. Either we have those individual variety developed here, basically adapt to this environment, or it's just a hybrid, and they can have a large kind of broader range of tolerance for this kind of
So
storage.
hybrid, the only issue is you can't reseed it. You've got to work it all the time, right?
Yeah.
And so you're trying to control almost, if we were musicians, we'd call it stereo, right? You're trying to coordinate that.
Yeah,
That
but just for
uniformity.
one season, it's good crop, and then you get seeds again.
Right. So you got to start all over
Yeah.
again.
So
And that's one of the issues, I think, worldwide is if you really want to promote biodiversity, more varieties is better. But and I see a lot of, I don't know if you are seeing this, and I don't know if most of your funding comes from industry or not, but we see a lot of research from industry with the seed companies, they want genetically modified food or haploid because the hybrid has to be repurchased each year. Now, reality is those hybrids are a better seed to grow, right? They keep the insects off. They're better. You can drought or whatever the conditions are. They are a preferable plant, but at some point in time, there's always Mother Nature never gives up, right? So there's going to be something that happens to that variety as well. And so if you only have that particular variety and you're not keeping a good seed bank, then you have the potential for disaster, right?
yes, in one way, yeah. But in another way, what you're looking at, and in our breeder we call the inbreed lines.
Mhm.
So basically, they just you have seeds grow back and harvested the seeds planted and grow back the same.
Mm-hmm.
So those are important, and those yes, USDA they have a seed bank, and there's several sectors they have all their seed bank. The research institute also has their seed.
Well, I think the USDA, most governments are really have been for many, many years dependent upon universities because universities technically don't exploit and try to sell and make money off the seeds per se, right? So the universities have been more of an unbiased group, and that technically that information is shared up to a degree, right? Up to when a commercial enterprise invests in something, then they own that. But what are you seeing right now? Okay, so let's talk about trends. You've been doing it for your whole life down in China, and then you did it for quite a while, both in Pennsylvania, Minnesota, and now here. What are you seeing trend-wise? I'm going to just ask a couple of trends. Number one, do you think that there's such a thing as, we know there's a population increase, right? In my lifetime, it went from, I think, 3.5 billion to 8 billion people. There's got to be a factor there, right? And we've seen Borlong's Green Revolution and all the things he did, right? And that held off starvation for a little while. But what are you seeing right now when it comes to basically pollution both in the air and in the water and in the soils? You just mentioned that you're seeing a degradation of soil, and that is in fact a part of human activity. I guess that's what they say. So you would agree that is something that's happening?
Yes. So those are when you look at. I agree there's climate change, and that caused the problem is most important caused the water circulation faster because of climate change. And the faster means the dry places like Arizona, we expecting to see more drier or you get more flood because there's
Right, you get the extremes.
You get both extreme because the water circulation faster in a short time. They just go up and drop back.
And water is critical for nutrient cycling. That's what people don't really quite get, is that we need that water. And if that water is contaminated with too much salt, that's a problem, right? And we have seen, I think in Arizona, we've seen the organic content in soil depreciate to the point, and that's important, right? From a standpoint of resilience, from diseases or pests. And we see that going on. And plus the soil itself, is becoming saltier, and it's becoming a higher pH as time goes on as well. So what do you see from, are you optimistic that we can, do you see any international governmental moves or anything happening on a national level here or in any other country really where money is being invested specifically to try to help this process?
Yes, I am aware of that. So the support from federal funding, for example, many like manage the water uses for Colorado River water uses for here, because that's one important thing is for the uh, you know Yuma area.
Right.
We provide nationwide for almost 95% of winter 6 months of vegetable.
Yeah, between
Yeah.
here and not too far away in California, most of our lettuce in the U.S.
Yes. So
is
the
grown
salad
here, for
greens that
instance.
come from here, and because of the water become shortage, like right now, I heard that just the reserve is right at only 30% of the water,
Yeah.
kind of.
And we're seeing it because I sell soil to farmers, and I'm seeing for this particular year, we're seeing something that's been grown for quite a long time, alfalfa. And we're seeing alfalfa farmers in a 1 year period, they're almost done. They just can't get the water they need. And, you're right, it's management of the Colorado River, but now you're seeing an entire crop. And the crop's not necessarily a bad crop because it's an affixer, right? It brings nitrogen back to the soil. It's a legume, and it feeds most of the cattle. And the world has started to eat a lot of meat, or we're all eating. We're meat eaters now, right? You got to feed the cattle, and you got to feed the cattle with something nutritious. But there's no more water to do that, and we do have a particularly good climate for certain things, lettuce, alfalfa, things like that. So where in the world will it be grown where we won't have a water problem?
So one thing, my feeling is we can increase the diversity of the crops and increase the portion of the crop you grow the food for local use.
Right.
So it's not only reduce the transportation and they can get worse for the environment, but another way is when you get local grow, it's not only promote the local business, but also the interesting part, the plants growing in this area, their response to this environment, especially for stressors.
Right.
And then once you get good produce and you just locally will be.
Yeah, the whole concept of growing and eating locally, but the problem is that goes against the global industries that, food has become a very global industry from shipping. I, just like anybody else, I like to have a grape at the wrong time of the year. You're getting it from Chile or wherever. And there's some great things as a consumer that unfortunately are not good long term for the prospect of what we're doing, right?
Yes, but that were mainly for the large retailers. But then, in my opinion, so I'm a big believer for local farm and local
Great.
food promotion, local food.
Would you say that you're in the majority or the minority when it comes to that? Worldwide, governments,
Government support that?
they're for that, you think?
Their USDA is actually puts a lot of fund to promote the local food producers and support the local food industries. So,
Wait, let's talk funding, because funding goes to the universities, and people don't have any idea how important university research is, right? We all think it can be just another cut and we can just cut it or whatever. But it really is the sanity that holds everything together, right? So
yeah.
what's happened that you've seen as far as, I don't know, do you have to, provide your own funding to get your projects done? You got to pair up with a business, or or beg for money somewhere? How does that work?
So for as a research in a public university, we get many the support from federal supports and also
Do you see that declining?
state government supports.
And I don't mean just, the last year or two. I mean, overall, over the last 20 years, do you see that federal funding or private funding shrinking, or do you think it's more or less staying the same? It's certainly not growing, right?
I don't think there's reducing the funding very much, but it may be the emphasis maybe different at different time. And but I think our nation had some very much visionary scientists there. They help to research how this.
So there's, and you would think the average person who's not into agriculture would think somebody who gets a PhD in related to agriculture, that's enough. But no, you need guys who specialize in seed. You got people who specialize in soil, people who specialize in microbiology and chemistry, and people who are specializing in deciding which crop goes where. And that's really that's a lot, right? I mean, you're taking a lot of different variables into account, and it's changing with the weather and the climate. And then you have land management, which was what we talked about, controlling some of the runoff, controlling what's left of the water. There's a lot of different parts to this equation, right?
Yes. So the main funding for ours still come from like a federal, state, and the industry. We do have some also private donors. It's just the family put funds for us to do the research and development.
Right, on certain particular crops, maybe a tomato crop or something, right?
Yes, for tomato, it's basically we're looking at, again, it's better to the local. For example, when I was in Minnesota, I was looking for not only short growing season, but we're looking for the nutrition changes to, for example, increase vitamin D in the crop. So that way you can eat a tomato, you gain the vitamin D. Nutrition. Because in the northern part of the country, we have a long winter. So many people just stay indoor, it's not come out.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody as they get older, starting to miss that vitamin D.
Yeah.
That's one of the supplements you got to take when you're.
So that's what we're trying to increase that part. So for the vegetable down there, when it comes to Arizona, where we say, okay, vitamin D is not a problem. We come out every day, but we are looking for some others.
So it really is a localized thing.
Yes.
And agriculture's always been that. It's been the movement of plants, domesticatable plants and animals, but then it's a matter of seeing which ones adapt and which ones are beneficial. And then you have to decide on your rotation. So there's a lot that goes into it. But well, I appreciate everything you're doing, and I appreciate you coming on today. And maybe we'll have you come again, but I definitely want to see maybe a little bit of pictures of what you've got going on, because we do trials ourselves. We just did a celery trial, and what else were we? We were trialing several different hemp varieties, and we did another trial on radicchio. So we've done, I think, three trials for our drought soil. And we think we're saving about 40%, but it's really, you've got to isolate all these variables to determine exactly, was that what saved the, water?
Yes, so those are the ways. So one way what we do in the lab, we're trying to, for example, we work with melons. So melons here is a very interesting, the crop here in Arizona, spring season, they have a very good root development. But once you get fruits, get hit. So, and then it gets
and it shortens the cycle, right?
Yeah. But in the fall, it's good for the floral fruits. But most time in the fall, because you plant in the hot
because
season,
it's so hot,
and the root system is not that great. So one thing we do, we we graft, for example, melon, we graft under loofah. Loofah has a very strong root system.
Yeah, I like growing loofah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and then we grew melon on the loofah. So use the loofah's root system and the loofah's root system and grow melons.
And people don't realize melons grow better here. We grow more melon here than any place in the country.
Yeah.
So that's another big crop for here.
Yeah. So it's we grew about 22% of the melons.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, one state, one little area.
Yeah, California is more, but we are second.
Yeah. So it's fascinating. It's something that I don't think anyone is going to gain all the knowledge or the wisdom, right? It's something you can do for your whole life. And at the end, you have more questions than when you started.
Yeah. So we look at everything basically.
So it keeps it interesting, though.
Yeah. We look at how we can grow crop in the extreme environment, stressed.
Well, that's the name of the game now, the challenge, right?
The challenge.
Is to figure it out, because I think we are worldwide experiencing effects of too much pollutant, too many people. That's the real effect. And we're going through, I think, we always go through natural cycles. So we always go through ice ages and warm-ups and stuff. But this one is accelerated because of man, and the stress on everything is accelerated because we have more demand for product now. So it'll be an interesting. I won't be here to see how it all works out, but I'd like to see that we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, we're moving forward. Every step we getting better, improving here and there. And just step.
Good. Well, that's good. Yeah, and it's what's really crazy is that the people faced with the challenges always seem to be optimistic. I mean, I'm a fan of like E.O. Wilson, and he talked about all the issues, all the problems, and yet at the same time, he knew that science had a lot of the answers. It's just we as people have to have the political will to make it work.
Yeah, science. Yeah, so we just keep understanding what's going on, especially for crops. Right. So a bit by bit.
And then we got to adapt.
Yeah,
and hope that we don't have too many casualties, not too many farmers going out of business, or sections of land that lose all fertility, and we have to start it from scratch. That kind of thing.
So one thing about U.S. is actually we are still world leading. So U.S. we have 2% of farmers feed 100% of population.
Yeah, which is crazy.
It's crazy. No other nation can compete.
Yeah. That's. But it's industrial, right? So it's got its own challenges, and the fact that so many of us are kept from understanding agriculture, which is something we all need to know. A basic literacy. I think that's also part of the problem, because the 2% of people who are involved have to get the financial support or the political will from the 98% of people who don't know. As far as they know, they go to Safeway. As long as the food's on the shelf, it's good enough.
But that's also other advantage for us, because we have 98% of population can do all other things.
They can, yeah. As long as they can appreciate how important it is to control the agriculture and the food. So
agriculture is another way. It's the research is actually decade ahead most time. So if you look at the research right now, it's maybe after 5 to 10 years given in the field.
Right. So it takes a while to do the research. Yeah. And things are happening so fast. Hopefully the research can keep up. So. Well, I appreciate you being here today, and look forward to maybe seeing you again, or seeing some of the stuff that you're currently doing, and we can post it here as well. So thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for joining the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Click subscribe and like for ongoing insightful conversations. Explore our webpage for show notes and additional resources.
Visit our guests' webpage for deeper insights. Your engagement is the foundation of our journey, and until next time, keep pursuing wisdom.